Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we have with us another special guest that goes by the name of Erik Grahovac. You might recognize his name from LinkedIn. He's become somewhat of a medical device sales influencer in the space, and he actually hails from a very colorful background as an American football coach, pharmaceutical sales rep, medical device sales rep, and then medical device sales leader. In this episode, we talk about his rise in his career and how he transitioned from the corporate life to the consulting life. And he goes into the details of what it was like to be an American college football coach and become a medical sales rep. As always, we do our best to bring you innovative guests that are changing the way medical sales happens, medical sales is seen, and medical sales is done. And as always, I hope you really enjoy this episode. Hey, Erik, how are we doing today?
Good, Samuel. How you doing, man?
Fantastic. No complaints over here. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Well, my name is Erik Grahovac. I am a former 12-year med device veteran, former B2B salesperson, former pharmaceutical salesperson, and then even in a prior life, Samuel, I was a college football coach.
Wow.
Which was actually my dream and my passion and my pursuit. And I still kind of say if I was a single guy, I'd probably be the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers today, but I'm not.
Okay, then. All right.
Found a very, very intelligent young lady once upon a time who fast forwarded along and became a surgeon. We couldn't live those lives of football coach and surgeon. It's not necessarily a mix that works. So I rerouted, got into sales, and just wrapped up a 12-year career in med device. And now I'm trying to blend that all together, Samuel, as a former coach and sales leader and sales rep in the med device world to help people and coach people into the industry. And then once they're in that industry, kind of grow their careers and go from there based on what I've seen and what I've known and really the things I just couldn't share the way I really wanted to as an employee. Sure. It was just, I had a day job that kind of got in the way of that. So with the modern world and the internet machine and all that stuff, you can help more people. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Got it. And this is EG60 Consulting.
Yep. EG60 Consulting was an LLC I started a few years back just to see how LegalZoom works, but I figured might as well keep it. No sense in giving somebody $150 if I don't need to. So, it's my initials, it's my football number, and consulting seemed like a buzzword that I should use. But certainly the goal, Samuel, is in something that, that I've realized over time. Originally, the moniker for EG60 was making more leaders. And that was always something we talked about as I was managing managers and leading leaders that's our job, is to make more leaders. And perhaps 60 is the multiplier that I never thought about, that if you can affect that one person, make them a leader through the course of their career and their efforts and their life and their impact, they should get to about 60 folks where they can make them better. So lo and behold, that 60 has more significance than I was prepared for.
That's a powerful theme. I like that. You mentioned something just a second ago. You said, you're now in a position to talk about things that you just couldn't do when you were in the corporate world. Give us an example of what those things are. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just the reality of heading into a med device opportunity and chasing that down. The biggest part, you and I were talking about this earlier, is medical device is so much bigger than scrub sinks and surgeons and standing in ORs. Like those are necessary and fantastic and incredible. And those careers are changing people's lives, certainly. Patients, caregivers, and the reps, everybody. But when you zoom out and you really think of healthcare, particularly in the United States for sure, you've got nursing, and you've got transport, and you've just got all these folks that are in the building that are taking care of people, and they have products too. They have needs. They're trying to stay safe. They're trying to prevent injuries and all those sorts of things. So really, just want people to understand it's a much bigger world than just being in the operating room.
Sure.
So
no, that's important. That's important. Okay, so let's take it back then, because everybody needs to know how you got to where you are today, and more importantly, you've had all these tastes of life that people just can't say, especially being a football coach. So I'm going to take you back to college, and I want you to tell me, what was on the horizon. When you were in college, where was your mindset, and what happened getting into your first role out of college?
Yeah. I joked in a post a few months back. I barely graduated college. I barely graduated high school. Sitting in a classroom was just not my thing.
Sure.
But I was fortunate enough, genetically and those sorts of things, to be able to get a full scholarship and play football and live that life and do all those things. And did I want to play in the National Football League? Sure. But I was also very realistic about the odds there. And I just always wanted to be a coach. That was just my thing that I always wanted to do. So I had a conversation with my position coach at the time, who'd been in the industry forever. And, he basically said, hey, when you graduate, I'll help you get into the industry. And he called me on Christmas Eve. He said, I just took a job at the University of Louisville. We have an opening for a video graduate assistant. And I was like, I don't even know what that is, but I'll park cars and shine shoes or whatever we got to do to get in. I'll be there. So I went down there, did that, eventually evolved into a tight ends coach. Amazing experience for a young kid coming out of school to be a part of a big multi-million-dollar top 5 program.
Yeah.
So that was just a great experience to see all that. But as I'm going along the whole way, Samuel, I could see the consistencies between the great coaches and the average, and started to pick up on like the common themes and what they had, and just put it in the back of my brain. And as time went on and I made the decision to get out of coaching, it was like, okay, I want to get into med device sales. Why? My brother was in it. I had a couple of friends that were in it. They're driving fancy cars. Life looks pretty good for them. This looks like something I want to do. So as I went around the horn and talked to recruiters and all that, I kept getting the experience pushback. It's like, hey, you just don't have the experience. You don't have experience.
Right.
Like, okay.
Right.
Well, what do I need to do? And they're like, just go sell something and come back, and then you'll have it. So got a job with ADP, worked the west side of Cincinnati, got guns pulled on me in auto body shops, and, really learned how to sell.
Okay.
Learned if I was any good at it, which I was okay back then. It wasn't like I set the world on fire in 12 months and, was the greatest sales rep in the world, but just started to really understand how this thing is supposed to work. And,
sure,
those great B2B companies, it's like, I would say it's like going to the Marines. They're going to teach you how to fight, and they're going to teach you how to win. That's what you get from those great companies. And you can have a hell of a career there if you so choose to. But I had my eye on that. And as we were getting ready to move back to Pittsburgh and my wife was going to begin her residency back there, I was meeting with a gal that was selling me a diamond for her ring. She had a brother-in-law that was working for a pharma company back in Pittsburgh, and he helped me get an interview there, and spent 3 years in the pharmaceutical world, which wasn't necessarily for me. I still had my eye on that med device thing. That's just what I felt like I needed to do and wanted to do. And then got a call one day from a former teammate of mine that was with a med device company that was getting back into the coaching world. We've been trying to swap lives for a long time. He said, hey, dude, you need to stop what you're doing and go interview for this job with Stryker.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, okay, got it. Going to do that. So went and did that. Coincidentally enough, a counterpart of mine had just interviewed for the job, had a bunch of bad things to say. Hiring manager was a jerk, bad opportunity, all these things. So I had that in the back of my mind. And lo and behold, man, I interviewed with a guy that I could tell right away he resembled those great coaches that I had seen before.
Sure.
He had something about him that just attracted me. And incredible leader, really understood how to develop people, and off we went, and spent that time there at Stryker, just kind of working my way up through a couple different business units, divisions. and went from rep to manager and then ultimately a sales director.
Wow. Okay. So we're still going to go back though. In college, then your goal was to become a coach.
Yep. That was it.
Okay. That was it. You were everything you were doing, devices wasn't even on the radar.
It wasn't on the radar, but I knew about it. I saw what my brother was up to and had some former teammates that got into that world and that sort of thing. But my dream certainly was to get into coaching, climb the ranks, move all over the country in hopes of, landing that big job one day.
And then you met the love of your life who said, and you didn't say anything actually, but you came to the conclusion that lifestyle is not going to work. What are my other options? And this is where med device came onto your radar.
Yeah. That was basically it. In fact, there were days I'd walk into the offensive staff room and, some of the coaches would be like, "You still dating that doctor?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Does she not know what we do here? Like, how are you guys going to make this work?" And I'm always the type of person who's like, "I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out." But then as, you started to see just the lives that their families had. We always said working as a coach is kind of like working for the carnival. You never really know what city you're going to end up in and live in. You have to take your family with you. It's just a very interesting lifestyle. So for anybody that's listening and watching that is a football fan, they don't just show up on game day and put it all together. There's a lot that goes on there behind the scenes that makes that a really tough life.
Okay.
So when I decided to shift gears, it was like, okay, I'm going to get into sales because that I was a good recruiter as a coach and had made some sales, so to speak, there. So that's how it all jumped off from leaving as a coach.
So I'm completely ignorant because I've never been I've never ever had a coaching role in that capacity of a sports team. I mean, I do now, but as a sports team, I haven't had that role. It's challenging because of the travel. Just you have to go from city to city. That's what makes it tough.
Yeah, it's 100-hour weeks. So if you're lucky, you're working 100 hours a week. It's 51 weeks out of the year. You get about a week vacation in June or so, especially in college because of all the recruiting that you have to do.
Sure.
So you'll have a territory. Coaches will have territories around the country. They're responsible for Texas and Florida and LA. And when you're not in a dark film room watching film, preparing for a game or coaching your players, you're trying to bring in the next great group of players. And that never sleeps. It's just something that never sleeps. And then on top of all that, Samuel, opportunities can come and go. And, maybe the coach you're working for wins a bunch of games and then they get a bigger job and they're moving. And are you moving with them? Or maybe they don't win games and they get fired and then they're moving and you're moving. Or maybe they make a mistake one night and they don't have a job anymore. And then you're moving. So it's just my mentor, I just remember his daughter had 4 different bedrooms in 4 years of high school. And it was Oregon, Oklahoma, Ohio, and Kentucky. And imagine, think of that if you're a high school kid and you got to move every year. So that's a tough family life is what it is.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So then, it must have been kind of cool though, to go from that into pharma being with a doctor. Did that play into the decision at all, or did it help in that career space? I mean, or were you guys just kind of doing your separate thing?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in the pharma world, I mean, she was knee deep in residency and which is just brutal altogether, especially as a surgeon doing general surgery. They're kind of Swiss Army knifing their way through all the different specialties. But I think the biggest takeaway, man, from having a spouse that's a physician and a surgeon is just, and I'll tell people this, current reps and future reps, is just be mindful of what's really going on with them, even nurses included, hospital administration included. They are working on really complex, heavy-hearted things. So if you grab that doc in the hallway or you pull that nurse aside, just understand they may have just left a family waiting room and had to deliver really tough news.
Right.
Maybe they just told somebody they have cancer for the first time.
Right.
So just be smart. No one cares about your widget right now. You're going to have to be a little more, just a little more mindful of like the day that they're having and how you approach them and those sorts of things, because that can get you in trouble. It can get you kicked out and get you banned. It can, they're never going to do business with you again if you don't approach things the right way and have a little bit of tact.
Right.
So just, that's the thing that I learned hearing her experiences. And I've always really tried to, as a rep, certainly, even dealing with the nursing staff, just be mindful of the tough day they're having every day.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's important.
Yep.
So then transitioning from pharma to med device, you have this, you have this insight that you just explained to us now with your wife. You have your coaching experience behind you. Talk to us a little bit about, you're working for Stryker, you're as a rep, and then you get into management. How did these experiences play into making that transition, or did they? How was it for you?
It all came together in the end. And I think in every interview that I had after leaving coaching, I've always said, whatever success I have in the future will all be because of the experience I had coming from coaching. And that was true. When I got into medical device, what I noticed right away, because I mean, you'd rather be lucky than good, right? And I was really, really lucky to just continue to work for and come across leaders that understood these fundamentals of, you have to have an offense as a sales rep. If you leave your house as a rep and grab a chunk of grass and throw it up in the air and just wait for the wind to kind of show you which direction to go, you're not going to win. There has to be a playbook. There has to be an offense. There has to be a system, like a franchise. If you go to Chick-fil-A in Boston, you go to Chick-fil-A, and they have Chick-fil-A in LA yet, dude?
You know what?
Is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have Chick-fil-A's everywhere. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so go to Chick-fil-A, and any one of those towns cross country, you get the same experience, And I learned that in med device too. You've got to have an offense and a playbook where this is how we win. This is how we score points. We run the ball, we throw the ball. I mean,
got it.
You have to have that. It can't just be, you can't just leave your house every day with coffee and let the wind take you somewhere. You've got to really have a way to score points and win and sell your product and help people. And that, coming from coaching, to know how valuable that was. And then once I got into med device, working for leaders that got it, that's when a big dumb guy like me was like, okay, I can make this. I can do it.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the transition from first tier management into, you were an area director there. Mm-hmm. What was that like? And again, how did your experiences play into making that transition and making it successful for you?
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's going to come back to the mentors I've had and the coaches I've had for certain. But I think when you go from being an individual contributor, right, where you got to perform in your role and you got to do all these things that will one day put you in a position to lead other people, right, and be responsible for careers in that way, which is a heavy, heavy responsibility. And then going into where you're actually coaching those coaches or leading those leaders, what you find out, and when you're competing for roles like that, is it's not about how many Rolexes you've won and how many crystals you've got in your office and quota achievements and all, like, because everybody has that at that
Sure.
point. What everybody wants to know is, who did you hire? What are they doing now? How did you develop them? What does your coaching tree look like now?
Right.
How influential have you been in these roles that you were in before? That matters the most, I mean, when I interviewed for my sales director job, I think, competing against incredibly talented people, I think the separator was having a sheet of testimonials from the people that I've developed over the years and what they had to say. It wasn't my resume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't my presence, my style. It was like, these are the people that I've been working on for 7 years. And this is what they're doing now to help the shareholders and the customers and the bottom line and the top line and all of that. And now they're bringing more leaders into. So that's really how I think moving up the ladder, the higher you go, the more they want to know about that. Who have you impacted so far? Not how much have you sold, because you get to that point, it's like everybody's got quota achievements and all the other stuff. So you have to have something more going on. That was kind of the the thing that really changes as you go from individual contributor and just keep taking more org chart underneath you, if you will.
Sure. Okay, now to the big moment where you said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'm going to create EG60 Consulting.
Yeah.
You have to share with all of us, and everybody I'm sure has been dying to know, why did that happen? How did that happen? What gave you the confidence to even make that happen? I mean, talk to us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. It is one that I'm getting a lot recently because I think anytime something like this happens, right or wrong, people automatically go to like, what happened? Like who'd you punch? Would you, would you steal?
Who'd you punch and what
Yeah,
did you
who'd
steal?
you punch? Who'd you steal? How many drinks did you have? And
That is
and it was none of that.
hilarious.
It was none of that. One of my mentors told me a long time ago, Samuel, that when you're a leader of people, there's no such thing as a 2-week notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like there isn't. It's a 6-month notice, and a couple things were going on. So it's almost a combination of the post-COVID realizations of things and just where we were as a family. We were working like crazy to get debt free, and we're doing the Dave Ramsey. We got money in envelopes.
Yep.
Like we're trying to work on all those things, and that was coming to a head. And making the decision to move from Pittsburgh and go to the beach where we vacation and live there full time, everything just kind of started to come to a head. And I said to myself, all right, if I'm 80 years old and I'm sitting on a boat dock with my grandkids or my great grandkids, and I know that I never went for it and bet on myself to start my own thing, I'm going to have a problem with that. Like I'm just going to I'm not going to be at peace. And so that was a big driver, dude. That was, 75% of the pie for me for certain.
Wow.
But then I also got to the point in my career, I was like, all right, I know what I'm pretty good at. And someone might overhear me saying this and be like, who's this guy I think he is? But I only want to do what I'm good at. And I don't want to do all the other things that it takes to be an employee in a big company. I just want to hire and develop people and coach, period. I don't want to do expense reports. I don't want to do TPS reports. And I love my boss, it was a very, very emotional exit from Stryker because it was an incredible place and it was an incredible group of people. It changed my life. It was, I mean, dude, I cried every other week. It was wild when I decided to announce that I was leaving because I think it probably surprised a lot of people. But if you ever want to, it was almost like, what's it feel like when you retire and you have that retirement party? And I got to feel that at 42, and that was pretty cool. Just to have people come out of the woodwork and be like, man, you helped me back in the day, and I'll never forget it. And my family will never forget it. And it was just like, dang, I need to go do this. I need to go take this show on the road. And that it all just felt right is what it came down to.
That is awesome. Well, congratulations, Eric. More power to you for making that decision. And I love your glimpse into the future of being 80 and reflecting. I think that's a powerful exercise to kind of put things in perspective. So talk to us a little bit about family then. You say you brought up family a couple of times. We know you have a wife that's a surgeon. Do you have young ones? I mean, give us your family dynamic.
Yeah. So we've got, I've got 2 girls. So I'm a girl dad, the fighter's curse, as they call it, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I've got one in 6th grade.
All right.
And one in 3rd grade. And, moving down here, they're starting at a new school and all that scary stuff. But we really, found a great community to live in with great people that have welcomed us like in a way that we really weren't expecting, but it's just amazing. Sure. And so they're getting into their rhythm, man. They're doing school and all that, and they've got their mom's brains, so they get all A's and all that kind of stuff. But
that's cool.
Just figuring out sports and all their interests and all that has just been really cool to see. And they're excited for me. Young kids these days, they're hip to like,
oh, they know
social
stuff.
Media.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Way more than we did.
Exactly.
Way more than
they can teach me way more than I can them, but they think I'm like, I don't know. It's just been interesting when I tell them what I'm doing now, and they're like, "Wait, so you're like," and they'll rattle off some YouTube person they watch or something. Like, nah, that's not. Sure, yeah, that's fine. You can think that.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah,
that's very cool. So I'm curious about your daily routine because an area vice president, that's a busy lifestyle, and you got to be up early and you're grinding pretty much probably the whole day, and then you're closing up at the end. And I can't imagine you have now said, well, I'm just not going to do that aggressive attack of the day anymore. I'm sure it's the same, but it's in different things. Tell us a little bit about what the daily routine looks like now.
Yeah, good question, man. So I'm learning what the routine is because school just started yesterday. So the past couple of weeks and months, it's like I've been kind of limping along at 25% speed, just taking care of the girls, moving and all that kind of stuff. But now that they're back in school, the routine is my dog's over here, sleeping, but take her to the beach after I drop the kids off, run her until her tongue like hangs all the way out the side of her mouth, get her good and tired. Get a workout in myself, come back home, start working on my content ideas and all that stuff and working on building the things that I'm trying to put together now where I can, help more people at scale and build out a product that's affordable and very impactful and brings a lot of value to people as I get my content out there onto LinkedIn and just network and catch up with people that have been in my life and my career and check in with them and see what's going on. I get a lot of inspiration and ideas and memories that come back to me that are really helpful that I can share. And that's it, man. And then I'll pick the girls up today at 2:30 and, see what they have going on, probably get them a smoothie or something like that and come back and work until it's dinner time and just enjoy life that way. Yeah.
So working means content creation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. That's it. Get my ideas on paper.
Exactly. So you had all these ideas in your career. How does it feel to get them all out and just kind of really run through them? I mean, what's that experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. It's like I'm super competitive. I know that to be true. One of the things I always appreciated about working at Stryker was they really helped you with self-awareness. I mean, they with the Gallup organization, the relationship they have, and everybody knows where they're good and where they're not. And competition's my number one. So, now it's to the point where I'll put together some content or something that I'm going to send out on LinkedIn, and then I get all excited about it. I'll tell my wife about it. I'm like, I think this is a really good one. Like I'm hitting them with the juicy stuff now, and then and then to see how it does and the dopamine hits you get with clicks and likes and shares. But it's cool, man, because you get to see like people you've never met in your life, and maybe you never will. And for that moment, they're like, this was cool. I like that. I got something out of that. And that's unique. I don't know. That's just a very 2022 kind of thing,
That is a very 2022 kind of thing, but it's a powerful thing.
It is.
That's very cool. Very cool. All right, so then let's talk about a little bit of advice you want to give to the audience here. So, our listeners are people that want to get into the industry, people that are in the industry, and of course, those leading the way. So let's start with those that want to get in. If you can give just one piece of advice today on this show, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, again, a very 2022 thing is speed now. Got to get there now. Need that job now. And smooth is fast. This is this phrase that I heard from like a special forces person. Like fast isn't fast. Smooth is fast. Absolutely. Okay. And that makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And if you apply that to a career or a pursuit in med device, for example, take it easy, take it slow. Like you don't need to look at someone's career on LinkedIn and be like, I need to have that right now. You just start where you are, is like the saying that people use. Like, it's okay if you go get, go sell knives door to door. Like, go find a job where you can sell and you can work on your craft and you can get good at it. And you can see if you like it, because sales is tough, man. Sales isn't a thing for everybody. I think because it's such an old profession, people will automatically look at it and be like, I could do that. I want to do that. It's like, you sure? You think you can? Well, then go do it. And that's probably the biggest advice for people, especially if you're pursuing a career in med device, is learn the techniques and learn what it feels like to get popped in the chin and learn how you're going to react when that happens. How's that going to affect the rest of your day? Do you pack it up at 1:00 and go home, or do you make a couple more calls in the day? There's just going to be all these things that you're not going to know until you do it. We were talking about before. It's like, you want to get good at jujitsu, you got to go roll around on a mat and jujitsu
and not get tapped out.
You want to learn how to fly a plane, you're going to have to go fly a plane. So that's the biggest advice is that, and find the people that, I think with social media, man, I mean, you're one of them, you're doing it. Like, go get great advice from people that are trying to help you out, like yourself. I mean, there's just so many resources that are free for people to get involved in. and then make a decision on how you want to double down on yourself and keep getting better. Be a pro.
Right.
There's a lot of amateur salespeople. They're freaking everywhere.
But like
if you really want to be a pro, that's the route.
I like that. Doubling down and investing in yourself. I like that.
Yep.
What about those sales reps that are in the field right now and listening to this on their way to their next account? What do you got to share with them?
One more call today.
One more. You heard him. One more call today.
One more call today. Right when you say it's time to go home, make one more.
I love it. One more call today. That's all needs to be said there. And then lastly, for the leaders listening, what would you like to share?
For the leaders that are listening, whatever your quota is, whatever the company assigned you as a leader right now, your job isn't to sell that. Your job is to go hire the team of people and develop them and pour into them and love on them and learn about them so that they can go sell that quota. That's your job. Don't be a super rep. Make more leaders on your team. Teach them how to fish, man.
I like it.
That's my biggest professional pet peeve of all time is that super rep, mindset. Right. Because you're not making more leaders when you're doing that. You're trying to add to your resume and be the one to go to your high school reunion and brag about what you've done. Like brag about the people that you've grown. That's what impresses people.
I like it. All right. We're going to have some fun before we wrap things up. I'm going to have a lightning round of questions for you. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. You have less than 10 seconds to answer.
Oh, man.
Are you ready, Erik? Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Best book you've read in the last 6 months?
The Go-Giver.
Ooh, okay. The Go-Giver series. That's a good series. Best movie you've seen in the last 6 months?
The new Minions. We just saw the new Minions movie, the story of Grau. It's actually pretty good.
You know what? They've mastered how to entertain adults. They really have. They really have mastered it for the parents. They know what they're doing.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, the best meal you've had in the last 6 months?
I mean, dude, being in South Carolina, the barbecue down here is legit.
I can only imagine.
There's a place right up the street. I'm blanking on the name. I'd give them a shout out right now, but excellent barbecue, and that's my favorite food. So that's
awesome.
It.
That's awesome. And then lastly, what's the best experience you've had in the last 6 months?
I mean, it's got to be when we moved down here June 13th, and that first day that we went to the beach as a family, and everything that we'd been like envisioning and talking about for the last 7 years of what if we lived here and what if this was our life, and imagine that when we stood there in the sand and like with the mailing address here. I mean, that was pretty wild.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Erik, it was a pleasure to have you on the show today. We'll definitely be watching you and all your great posts, and maybe we'll even see you again. Thanks for the time today.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks, Samuel.
And that was Erik Grahovac. It's always great to hear such a colorful background, having been an American football coach, American college football coach, then becoming a sales professional, then ultimately transitioning to medical device sales leadership. And so much that he's learned along the way that he's now sharing with his followers and really improving the quality of how medical sales is conducted. Maybe you're listening to these episodes and you're a regular listener and you're hearing this and you're thinking to yourself, I want to make my transition. I want to get into medical sales. Maybe it's pharmaceutical, maybe it's medical device, maybe it's medical supplies or dental. I'm asking you to stop thinking about it. Don't just listen to these episodes and these wonderful stories. Keep listening, of course, but take action. Visit evolveyoursuccess.com, select Attain Medical Sales Role, submit an application, and have a conversation with someone here at Evolve Your Success, and let's talk about how the Medical Sales Career Builder program can change your life and get you into the role of your dreams. And if you're in the field right now, maybe you're driving to your next account, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're at home, and you're thinking about your territory, and you're thinking to yourself, I know my numbers could be better, or I know I can promote to the next position, or I know I can get to President's Club or Winner's Circle next year. I know I can make these things happen. Again, take action. Visit evolveyoursuccess.com, select Improve Sales Performance, submit an application, and have a conversation, and let's get you to where you want to be. As always, we do our best to bring you guests that have innovation and are changing the way things happen in the medical sales space. So make sure you tune in next week for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry. become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive-level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.